Hey everyone, welcome to the Opinions, Facts, and Stats podcast with your host Tyler. Usually we have my good buddy Garrett with us for our second episode of this podcast, but today he is unable to make it, so it's just me. So let's get this started. All right. First off, I just want to say that I was very excited to do our first episode last week, and I hope you guys enjoyed it also. I want you guys to don't forget to hit that subscribe button and also smash that like button. We want to try and get as many views as we can on this, so it would be much appreciated. So first off, let's start with the Patriots, right? Last week we talked about how Bill O'Brien now has become the new offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots, and I gotta say, I am beyond excited to hear that about him. He is that kind of coach that I think people kind of underestimate because he went from Houston back to the college ranks. But when you look at that, some coaches need to do that, right? Coaches need to kind of build their rep back up. Even though in Houston, he had a tremendous amount of success down with the Houston Texans. Yes, he didn't win a Super Bowl. He didn't win many playoff games, but he made it to the playoffs. That's the whole thing when it comes to the NFL, right? You just want to make it to the playoffs because when you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. And that's what he did. Now, he went back to Alabama. And the funny thing is, when you look about the Alabama football team with Bryce Young, before he came, their offense was like number 2 in the nation, right? They were averaging like 50 points a game, which is insane to think about when you think about football, even in the college ranks. But that's what Alabama did. They were one of the elite teams in college football, and he then came in to be the new offensive coordinator. Once he came in, he realized that he needed to change some things up. He then implemented his own strategies, and people kind of misconstrue what he is as a coach. He is that kind of coach who, yes, he will yell at you, he will get in your face, he will scream at you because he is passionate about football, right? Those kind of coaches are the ones that I think a lot of players want, and some players don't. Every player is different. You have those elite football players that sit there and go, I want to be coached hard. I want to be taught hard. I want to make sure I know all the answers to the test, right? And then you have some of those other players who, in reality, might not be as comfortable being yelled at. That's not a bad thing. It's just, it makes it hard when you're especially in the college ranks and you're one of those elite talents that has to come up in the ranks. And if you're looking to go into the NFL, you need that hard coaching. And that's what Bill O'Brien is. Bill O'Brien brings that energy. He brings that passion. He brings that hard-nosed coaching style. And that's what I think he's going to bring to the Patriots, right? Well, the New England Patriots, we look at this past year, and the amount of dysfunction that went on in that locker room, front office, whatever you want to call it. There was so much dysfunction that people didn't realize how bad it was, right? All the reports that were coming out about how Matt Patricia was the one who, he was a terrible offensive coordinator. And yes, I agree. He was not good. He wasn't great, but I don't think he was nearly as bad as people think he was, right? He was put in that position by Bill Belichick. And Bill Belichick decided to put him in there, right? So Patricia did what he thought he had to do. But the funny thing is, when you think about it, Joe Judge was really the issue when it came to this Patriots team, okay? He was the quarterback's coach. He was the one sitting with Mac Jones all the time. He was the one in Mac Jones' ear all the time. And that is one of the biggest positions you can be in football, right? Especially on the offensive side. Yes, offensive coordinator is the cream of the crop. You want to be the OC of the offense. But the quarterback's coach, you need a good relationship there. And Mac Jones did not have a good relationship with Joe Judge. Like, he even came out and said it straight up. I don't like Joe Judge. And Joe Judge is kind of an interesting character when you look at him because he went to the Giants and his Giants tenure was atrocious. He was horrible there, right? This is what happens with New England Patriots coaches that are coached by Bill Belichick. Everybody thinks that when they go to another team, they're going to be the most dominant coach because they came from Bill Belichick, right? No one is Bill Belichick. No one's Kyle Shanahan. No one is Sean McVay, right? No one is these elite coaches. They're their own person. And a lot of these assistants, offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, whatever it may be, sometimes they think because that style works here, that's going to work somewhere else. And that is not what happened with Joe Judge. He went to the Giants and tried to be this hard nosed, in your face, let's go. I want to get on you left and right. And it didn't work. Daniel Jones was horrible, horrible. And after 2 or 3 years with the Giants, Joe Judge was out, gone. And what happened? He came right back to the Patriots. Okay. Now, everybody thought that Joe Judge was going to get fired. Everyone thought that after all those reports about how no one liked him, it was all Bill Belichick, right? That the amount of dysfunction on the offensive side coincided with Patricia and Bill, but a lot of it had to do with Joe Judge behind the scenes because you didn't see Joe Judge as much, and that's the thing. Matt Patricia became the front man. He became the guy that everyone was like, all him, right? So now that you see how dysfunctional this whole offense was, you can kind of understand why this whole offense was what it was, right? Mac Jones had a bad year. He did. That's my own personal opinion. You guys can disagree, and that's perfectly fine. But Mac Jones did not have that great of a year. Do I think he has as bad a year as people think he did? No, not even close. But you saw the things that really made it harder for Mac Jones to succeed, right? Terrible play calling, no offensive line, receivers that were 2, 3 type receivers, no number one. The tight ends are really non-existent in my opinion. Hunter Henry was good. I don't say he's great. He's a good tight end. Jonnu Smith. And Jonnu Smith is a weird one because he is so talented with the ball in his hands. He's not a great route runner. He isn't the best pass catcher, but when the ball is in his hands, is a mismatch waiting to happen. He can make something out of nothing, right? And for some reason, even with Josh McDaniels, nobody could figure out how to use him the proper way, right? He was this kind of offensive weapon that everyone thought when they signed him, oh, you're going to give him the ball in space, he's going to run for like 20 yards every time, right? That's what we all thought. It didn't happen one bit, right? So that's what we need to realize with Bill O'Brien coming back in, okay? Bill O'Brien I don't want to say he is the best offensive coordinator out there, but he was the best choice right now for the Patriots, right? Because he worked with Mac Jones. Now, he wasn't Mac Jones's OC at Alabama, but Bill O'Brien's first year coming into Alabama, Mac Jones was getting ready to go into the NFL draft. Okay. So the funny thing is that when you see that, right, Mac Jones taught Bill O'Brien the entire offense at Alabama, right? So they already kind of have that relationship. Obviously, I don't know how close the relationship was at Alabama, but we do know that him and Mac and Bill O'Brien had some form of relationship that helped out. Okay. So Bill coming back in here now, O'Brien, he is going to implement his own offense. Okay. I think you're going to see the offense that Josh McDaniels ran, with a more of a 2 tight end set, right? Because we don't realize that Bill O'Brien, his first tenure with the Patriots as offensive coordinator, with Robert Gronkowski, with Aaron Hernandez, had one of their best years under Bill O'Brien. So we know that O'Brien can implement an offense where they use a tight end, right? Because I feel like for this offense to succeed, you need these tight ends to get more involved. Not just in the passing game, but the blocking game. We need them to block better because with the type of players they're not tremendous blockers, but they need to be at least manageable to be able to handle those duties in general, right? So with Bill O'Brien coming in here, I think you're going to see a lot of two tight end sets that are really going to help implement and help Mac Jones succeed even further, right? Now, I want to bring this back to an idea that I had earlier with my friend. Jacoby Myers was our best receiver, right? He was our best receiver. He was somebody that, in my opinion, was a little underrated in the NFL, right? Because he's not this speedster. He's not this huge guy who's going to create yards after the catch. He is a possession type of slot receiver. And that's very different, right? They don't necessarily have this elite slot receiver like Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola, right? We don't have those guys. That's not who Myers is. And he's a free agent, right? And this is going to be on Bill O'Brien. I don't know what his whole mindset with that is. I think that he is somebody that would like him back, but I don't necessarily know, right? I think that he is somebody who, depending on the money that he gets from other teams, he could come back. I would not mind him back, but I still feel like Bill O'Brien is going to wants that number one receiver, because when he was in Houston, he had, what's that name called? Oh, that's right, DeAndre Hopkins, a elite number one receiver. Now, we could still get Hopkins, right? There's been reports out there that saying that even though him and Bill O'Brien didn't have a great relationship, it was mostly non-existent. It was kind of a relationship where they were work people. They didn't really acknowledge each other. They didn't really like each other. There wasn't really much communication going on there. And then Bill O'Brien trades him and David Johnson to the Arizona Cardinals, right? Which I think that was a little lopsided, in my opinion. David Johnson came to Houston and he was a shell of himself. He was non-existent. He had a couple good runs here and there, but he was nothing spectacular. Hopkins had his typical pretty good years. I don't think he was as elite as he was in Houston, but again, age, you get older, some things slow down, and Hopkins was never a fast receiver. He was always that receiver who had the big, huge hands, who could go up and get the ball, pluck it out of the sky over small defenders, and make big plays. And he was a good route runner. So I think you have to look at that point as saying, if Hopkins came in here with Bill O'Brien and Mac Jones, and then you have Kendrick Bourne and Parker and all those other guys, it can be a pretty good offense. Now, the biggest factor for next season with the Patriots is, yes, Bill O'Brien is going to help a lot, especially because he knows how to call plays, right? We don't, Matt Patricia didn't know how to call him. He didn't. And we can just accept that and move on from that, right? So Bill O'Brien will at least know how to call a game, an offense, but we need an O-line, right? We need an offensive line, okay? Trent Brown, not a left tackle. Not in my opinion. Please comment, guys, if you guys think that, give me your own opinions and comments about that. But Trent Brown's not a left tackle. He even showed in the beginning of the year he was not happy one bit, right? He is a right tackle, and that's fine. I think if they move him back to right tackle and they get a left tackle either in the draft or even in free agency, because I'm going to get into that later about some of the tackles versus draft and also free agency and who I think would fit best with this offense. I think that you have to realize that Mac needs protection. Okay. Mac is not going to go out there and scramble like Mahomes does, like Allen does. He needs an offensive line that can protect him. Okay. I feel like a lot of people are going to be like, wait, but what about Joe Burrow? Joe Burrow doesn't run around a lot. He's not the super athletic quarterback. Yes, I get that, but you have to understand Joe Burrow's a different animal, in my opinion. Okay. I think Mac Jones could get to a level of Joe Burrow. I don't think he will get to Joe Burrow heights, but I think that he definitely could get on a level where you see a constant, more consistent quarterback. Because again, I'm not comparing these two quarterbacks to each other. I don't want anybody thinking that. Joe Burrow, yes, right now he is so far above Mac Jones, right? But they have similar styles. They are pocket passers, want to stay in the pocket, want to analyze the field, go through their progressions from 1 to 4, whatever it may be, and find the open receiver, right? I think people really underestimate Mac Jones, though, and his running ability, right? He's not this stick in the mud, this I want to stand there, hold the ball and hold the ball and hold the ball and do nothing. He will move. He will run. He will go that way and whatnot. So I think that you need to people to understand that Mac Jones can move. Okay. So if he's in trouble, he can get out. He can make some movements. He's sneaky in the pocket. His movement skills are pretty good, in my opinion. But he kind of dwindles under pressure. And this is what me and my buddy have talked about too. Mac Jones is the kind of quarterback, like I said, needs protection, needs good receivers, tight ends, running backs, whatever it may be, but he needs that offensive line where he feels secure because you can see it. As the year went on, Mac Jones did not feel safe behind that O line. He was rushed. He was making throws that he normally wouldn't make because he was scared. He was skittish in the pocket. And if you go back to his evaluation back from coming into the NFL draft, one of his biggest points was that he did struggle when under pressure. And that's what's going to happen with a pocket passer who doesn't have elite athletic ability. He is that kind of quarterback that, he can make some things happen with his feet, but he mostly is going to stay there and just wait and get guys open with his mind. Use his mind, his brain. His brain is his biggest thing. And I think we all know that. And this is what me and my friend have talked about. Mac Jones uses his brain, and that's how he wins. Okay. But this year, you saw he was scared. He didn't know what happened. He didn't know this old line, like with Trent Brown left tackle, was on his blind side. Was he waiting too long? He couldn't see the guy coming, and he gets hit, and that's where he got the ankle injury, the high ankle sprain. Unfortunately, those things do happen, as we saw with Mahomes and some other quarterbacks this year. So those freak injuries do happen, but with an actual O-line, I feel like that's really going to help Mac Jones even have a better year 3. Okay, everyone talks about that year 2 jump. Mac didn't have it. I think the situation around him just really made it harder for him to do that. And that's just unfortunate. But we need to move on from that and realize that this is a brand new year. I think Bill Belichick, talking to Robert Kraft, has acknowledged that this year just was not the year for them, that he screwed up. Even if one of the players not named said that they love Bill Belichick, but he effed them, he screwed him over. And that's kind of where the dysfunction happened. Bill put trust in an offense of staff that wasn't ready to be on offense. They just weren't ready. They used, like I said, we talked about this last week, but they used an offensive line coach as the OC coach too, right? And Joe Judge is the quarterback coach. That's hard to do when there's just they have so many jobs. They can't focus on one thing, right? Because now you have Bill O'Brien as offensive coordinator, quarterback coach. Okay. Now they've talked about Adrian Clem from Oregon, how that he is coming for an interview at the Shrine Bowl to be interviewed for a second time. Now, Adrian Clem is an interesting person, in my opinion. He is somebody that I think will definitely come in here with experience because, like I said last week, Oregon had one of the top offensive line groups in the nation. And we have to realize that you need a good offensive line coach to help these offensive linemen. Okay. And Adrian Clem, former New England Patriots lineman, right, a while back. So he has experience with Bill Belichick. He has experience in this offense. He also has experience. He also has experience in the NFL. Okay. Now, Adrian Clem is the kind of guy that I think would be a great asset to this team because he is that hard-nosed coach. He has already got the seal of approval from Dante Scarnecchia, and we all know who Dante Scarnecchia is. He was the epitome of a Hall of Fame offensive line coach, right? So he is somebody that I think will definitely get some look as the offensive line coach. Now, we'll see what happens going forward if that's actually going to help happen. I'm not sure, but we'll find out on that situation there. Now, another coach that it's kind of funny when you think about it, because it seems like Bill Belichick only wants to bring in people who have either worked him already or have played for him, right? And this second coach is a guy named Ryan Wendell. He's the offensive line assistant with the Buffalo Bills. He also played for the Patriots about 10 or so years back, and he has been with the Buffalo Bills for a while now. He is somebody that, in my opinion, I'm not very high on, just because when you look at his past couple of years with Buffalo. The offensive line has been kind of up and down. Now, again, we can look at it as injuries has come up. Those things do happen. Josh Allen is a different kind of animal, so he is running around a lot. So the line has kind of have to be able to hold up longer than maybe other quarterbacks would be in there. Other line would have to do that. But I think that Ryan Wendell coming in here for an interview is a fine thing because the more people you can get into the building, coaching wise, will only help. I think that he is somebody that is definitely going to get a good long look. But I just find it funny when you think about it, guys, that Bill Belichick keeps bringing in people that he's worked with or played with or has coached with, right? No one that he has brought in has not played for him or been on the team with him, right? Now, I hope you guys will comment on this because I want to get your opinions on this situation from you guys. But I just want to see if, in your own personal opinions, is this a trust thing with Bill? Or do you guys think that this is just who Bill Belichick is? Now, because I can give my answer, I can give my opinion, and I'll talk about that, but I want to also get opinions from you guys. Okay. So my opinion with this whole situation with Bill Belichick and who the coaches that he's brought in to interview is the trust thing. Okay. Bill has always hired guys who he trusts. Now, in any work environment, you want guys you can trust. You want people you can trust like that. I totally understand that. But I think after last year, after the dysfunction of the whole team, I feel like Bill needs to kind of go outside his comfort zone and look at people that maybe you wouldn't necessarily think that would be a candidate for this team, just because this is a new team. This is a new era of football, okay? We're not with the Tom Brady's anymore. We're not with the Josh McDaniels anymore. We're not with those kind of coaches, right? Bill O'Brien, yes, he's coming back in. We all know what he can do. We understand that he should be able to help turn the offense around. But again, Bill knew Bill. That's the thing I'm trying to get at here, okay? There is nobody out there that he has brought in that hasn't had experience with him, okay? So I feel like we need to kind of acknowledge that Bill Belichick is going to sit there and kind of see what works best for these guys, right? And I think that we need to sit here and realize that, hey, Bill Belichick's going to do what Bill Belichick does, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not here to tell everyone that Bill Belichick can't do his own thing. He has every right to decide who he wants, what he wants to do, and so forth. Now, bringing that kind of all around the circle here, I want to talk about the Shrine Bowl, okay? Because Bill O'Brien was there. Bill Belichick was there. So was Gerard Mayo. Two coaches I want to talk about quick, though. One that was there, one that was not there, okay? Joe Judge. Again, we already talked about Joe Judge. We know what he did. He was there. And that kind of makes me laugh a little bit because we all know Mac Jones hated Joe Judge. Like, hated him. Did not like him. Did not want him. And yet he was there. He still was there. I don't necessarily know exactly the role he's going to be in. I've read reports that he's going to be more of a front office role. He's not really going to be a coach on the sidelines anymore. But I feel like he's going to be that kind of, either him or Patricia are going to be the Ernie Adams role, the guy who is kind of that second set of eyes, second set of ears for Bill Belichick up in the front office when he's there. And I don't like it personally. I don't understand why we need to bring Joe Judge back. I just don't see a reason for this. Everyone has already said to Bill pretty much that we don't want him here. We don't like him. He's not somebody that we want around. He's kind of that, coach that he may be a great coach. I'm not dismissing how good of a coach he can be, but his style of coaching does not work here. It doesn't. He did this as special teams coach, and that's what I thought he was going back as, but it doesn't sound like he's going to do that. It sounds like the old special teams coordinator, Cam McCord, is going to be staying there. And I want to give Cam McCord another year. It was a bad year. We can attest to that, but he's also going to be at the Shrine Bowl. And then Gerard Mayo. Gerard Mayo is there, and he's right up there. He's in that supervisory role, so he's going to be there with Bill Belichick and Joe Judge. The one coach that is not going to be there is somebody named Matt Patricia. And now I've been reading reports that Matt Patricia doesn't really know what he wants to do. He's not really sure. He is kind of sitting there going, should I go back? Should I go get other opportunities? I think that if he does, that's great. I personally feel like I would rather have kept Patricia over Joe Judge, but that is Bill Belichick's choice. I don't know if he decided to keep Joe Judge or they kind of work something out. But right now, Matt Patricia's kind of in limbo. He's not really sure what's going to happen. I have a hard time seeing him really having a role in this team going forward, especially if they bring an offensive line coach in, because then Matt Patricia won't be OC, quarterback coach, or offensive line coach. And we could be an assistant. I think that's fine, but I just don't really see him being that kind of guy who wants an assistant role, unless he can get somebody somewhere else, or he might just take the year off and take time, and that's what he decides. Good for him. But as of right now, he's not at the Shrine Bowl. Neither is Steve Belichick, and that one kind of intrigues me a little bit. And I want to get your opinions, guys. I would appreciate that. But I think with Steve Belichick, I wonder what he's thinking now, because Gerard Mayo just got, a higher position. Again, official titles have not come out on him, but we're all pretty sure that will be a assistant head coach. So that's what I've been reading, and that's what I've been kind of hearing around with the rumors. But I'm not sure if he's going to be a defensive coordinator. Is he still going to be? Are they going to be co-defensive coordinators or what? I mean, that's the hardest thing, because it is Bill Belichick's son. And we have to realize, like, would Bill Belichick really fire his son? And I think he would. I truly think he would. I think Bill would. He wants to win, and if Steve is not comfortable taking a lesser role, I think he would leave, and that's fine. I think Steve's a fine coach. I think that they underestimated what he was doing, though. Right, because when you watch the games, he was the one coaching, calling the plays on defense, but Gerard Mayo was really the mind behind it all. He was the one inside the meetings. He was the one running the meetings. He was the one going over the game plan. Steve Belichick was just the one a lot of times calling the plays. So I think Steve is going to look at that going, what's my role going to be? What is it going forward? Am I still going to have a lot of responsibilities, or am I taking kind of a back seat with Gerard Mayo now getting a higher up role? So I think those are kind of factors that we need to look into it in all the situations there. So that's kind of on the coaching aspect of the Shrine Bowl. But now with the Shrine Bowl, there are some players that I think we need to quickly discuss, in my own opinion, of what I think is the best situation for them. One name I want to bring up is a guy named Jake Bobo. Now, I think that's a pretty fun name, Jake Bobo. I think that he is that 6'5", 215-ish pounds receiver who in reality is very in the mold of Jacoby Myers. He really is. He is that big-bodied possession receiver, good route runner, good hands, high football IQ, somebody that I think Patriots should take a long look at, especially in the later rounds. Unless he has a great Shrine Bowl and lights it up at the Combine, he might get a higher look up in some of the earlier rounds. But I still think Jake Bobo is that kind of receiver that you're going to be looking around the 4th, 5th round, maybe 6th. But I think the 4th, 5th round is where he's going to be settling, just because of that size, right? 6'5", you can't teach that, right? Even if he doesn't have that great deep speed, he still is a nuanced route runner. He is somebody that I think will be a quarterback's best friend, especially with that size, right? Because if you put a 5'10", even a 6-foot corner on him, I think that with Jake Bobo, you can jam him at the line, but he is so big, he is able to kind of have that large catch radius that I think will be really beneficial to Mac Jones. So he is the kind of receiver that if they don't re-sign Jacoby Myers, I think would be nice to find a replacement for him, would be in Jake Bobo. Yes, Bobo's a little bit bigger, but I think they have very similar skill sets that will be kind of easy for Mac Jones to look at Jake Bobo and say, oh, wow, this is kind of like a Jacoby Myers clone, so let's try and see what he can do. So he is somebody that I'm definitely keeping an eye out as the Shrine Bowl goes on. He's had a pretty good 2 days of practice so far. Like I said, just based on his size, I think he is that kind of mismatch. And again, he could be a move tight end too, right? He's 6'5". He doesn't have the muscle as some of the other tight ends, obviously. But I think if you put him out wide, put him in the slot, flex him out, I think that you definitely could see a guy who could thrive, and depending on what the offense asks of him, that too. So I think he is somebody that I think you definitely need to kind of keep a eye out for. Now, we need to get to some corners because cornerback is definitely a position of need for the Patriots, and also safety though. Safety is definitely a position that I think people are a little bit underestimating, because if Devin McCourty doesn't come back, you got Adrian Phillips, you got Kyle Duggar, you have more of these strong safeties, but you don't have that free safety. Okay. Now, people are talking about, Brian Branch. Oh, Brian Branch should be here. He should be the guy they drafted in the first round from Alabama, because it's Alabama, Nick Saban. We all know that. But Brian Branch, in my opinion, is not a free safety. He's a strong safety. And again, you need more depth. So if he's the best player on the board and you want to go for him, fine. I wouldn't put it past Bill, but I just feel like there are other pressing needs, especially in the first round. Like I said, tackle or corner. I think the two that you really, and then receiver. You can look at a receiver, but I think you need to focus more on the tackle and the corner spot. So I think with the situation with the corners, we need to also understand that, I like Brian Branch. I've watched his tape. He is a physical player, right? He has no problem sticking his nose in there. But in my opinion, he's not this, like I said, free safety that we're going to find, right? I've heard people talk about Brandon Joseph from Notre Dame. He transferred over from Northwestern, and I think that he is a good corner, a good safety prospect, but he's that kind of player who is kind of just that good, average football player. Does nothing great, but does nothing poor either. He is just a very sound football player. Now, he did have struggles at Notre Dame, right? He did transfer, and he didn't have the year many people expected, and that's no fault of anyone's own. It is a bigger conference. You're Notre Dame. You're going against these top 5-10 teams, but he did struggle, and I think he was projected last year, if he did come out as like more of a second round. I'm looking at him now, the 4th, 5th round. He does have size. He is 6'1". He's a little smaller with the 192, but I do think that he is somebody to keep an eye out for. He has had injuries, so the injury history is going to be looked upon greatly to see where he kind of falls in that kind of situation there. But the hardest thing about the NFL right now is that all these receivers are getting so big, right? You're not getting these, smaller, shiftier running back cornerbacks. You're getting more of these bigger 6'2", 6'3", 6'4" receivers. You need bigger corners, you need bigger safeties. And I think that's what Bill Belichick, I hope he's going to be looking at. It's just hard when you see that situation there, because Bill Belichick does what Bill does, but this year is especially good for big corners and safeties, right? That this draft is deep, and I mean deep when it comes to the draft, okay, with safeties and corners. You want a guy in the 3rd round that's like 6'2", 6'3", go right ahead. Those are the guys that I think you're really going to be fascinated by. But the hardest thing is that you got to find those guys. And a lot of these guys that I've watched who are 6'3", 6'4", corners or safeties need a lot of refinement. Now, there is one safety that has caught my eye from watching the Shrine Bowl, and that's Trey Dean, the 3rd from Florida. He is a 6'3", 6'4" corner safety hybrid. He has great length, great speed, great overall agility, but he is raw. He's very, very raw. And it's not a bad thing. I think that you need to at least look at him and see what he can do. But he is one guy that I think is a name to keep an eye out for, just because even if you give him the fourth or fifth round, he is somebody that I think you can coach up, because the Patriots have had great success coaching up corners of safeties, right? They've had tremendous success with, J.C. Jackson, Stephon Gilmore, Marcus Jones, Jonathan Jones, Devin McCourty, Jason McCourty, all those names. Kyle Duggar coming from Lenore Ryan, no one really heard about, but he was raw technique-wise, but he was an athletic specimen. And now look at him. He's one of the better strong safeties in the league here. So you definitely can see the experience that the Patriots can bring with these corners and safeties. So I think you need to kind of not be scared from what they bring, but to understand that, hey, listen, we need to at least think about getting these bigger guys. So another name that I want to bring up that is also at the Shrine Bowl. He's not on the Patriots team, but he is on the other team, the West team, I'm pretty sure. And that is Mekhi Gardner. He is from LSU. He is a corner. He is about 6'1", 217, so he's got size. He's got good length. He's got good speed. Like I said, a lot of these corners coming out, unless you're like a first-round corner, and unless you're like a physical specimen, technique is where you're going to be working on a lot. And I'm going to get into a guy in a few minutes about a guy who has tremendous technique. I mean, high-level technique. But I want to stick on with this for Mekhi Gardner for a second. He is a guy that I think you'll be talking about in the second, maybe third round corner, because he does have high skill level. He just needs some seasoning, right? He, played for LSU. He had a pretty good year, but he needs just to be coached up. And that's what I feel like a lot of these corners need, just to be coached up. The NFL is a different animal. The receivers are bigger, they're faster, they're stronger, they're better route runners. So, when you're working in technique, I think that he definitely is something that I'm personally going to keep an eye out for. And again, please, guys, once this video is up, comment, post, do what you guys got to do to throw some ideas or comments of players that you guys are wants to talk about, and me and my friend will be more than happy to talk about it. So don't be afraid to do that. We are looking forward to all of the comments and questions that you guys may have. So I'm going to get to about 2 or 3 more players that I want to discuss quick, and then I want to go into some basketball at the end. But like I said, so keep an eye out for Mekhi Gardner. If he has a great Shrine Bowl, I think he is definitely a guy that's going to rise. I think that he is kind of underrated, under the radar kind of player necessarily, but I think you'll hear his name if he has a good Shrine Bowl. So another player that I want to talk about is our friend Tre'Davious. What was his name? He is the corner from TCU. Yep. Tre'Davious Hodges Tomlinson, or Trey Hodges Tomlinson. He comes from TSU. Okay. And when I talk about technique, this guy has technique. Okay. He is able to put pressure on the receivers at the line. Good jam. He is good at jamming at the line of scrimmage. He is good in and out of his breaks. He's got fluid hips. He is able to mirror the receivers very well. Only thing is, he's only about 5'8", 5'9", if he's lucky. But he's only like 170. So he's small. He is small. Now, again, he may be small, but he is physical in nature, right? Stature, maybe not, but he's physical, okay? And he has great technique, high pointing the ball, tracking the ball, playing the ball, right? Because a lot of the time these corners, when they're going against these bigger receivers, they don't play the ball, they play the receiver. So then what happens is that when they're going up for the ball, they are trying to attack it, right, at its highest point, which you want, right? But sometimes they're so focused on the receiver, they don't turn around and see it. And by the time they do, they get caught in the middle there trying to find the ball up in the air and can't see the receiver already jumping over them, behind them, right? So with Tomlinson, I don't see that when I've watched his tape. He is the kind of corner that, yes, he's undersized, but again, he is very good, technically sound. Again, I don't really see the Patriots going for him, but he is somebody that I did want to bring up quick just because I think that he is a guy that Bill may be interested in. But again, you have Marcus Jones, who's a very similar player to him. I think he's a little bit faster than Tomlinson, but I think Tomlinson's better technique. And you got John Jones. So if they re-sign John Jones, then you don't really need this guy. You need the bigger corners. You need the bigger corners. And that's why, two of the bigger corners that I personally like is I talked about Devin Witherspoon on our first episode. So you can go back and watch that one about Devin Witherspoon. I kind of give a little insight into him. But another guy that I think would be a great asset to this team would be Christian Gonzalez from Oregon. He is 6'2", about 6'3", and he has about 200 pounds. So he's got size. He's got great length. He was a transfer, but he had a tremendous year at Oregon. Now, he may be a top 10 pick, but again, I feel like in the NFL draft, when you go and you look at quarterbacks, corners, and all of them, quarterback taken early, you got to get tackles taken early, and that's the hardest thing. Because I went over a few tackles last week, but I just don't see a tackle in this draft and in the first round that's going to reach us, right? Maybe you get Broderick Jones, a guy from Georgia who I talked about last week, but it's going to be hard. So I think you're going to have to look at corner long and hard, depending who's there at 14. But Christian Gonzalez is definitely a name that I'm keeping an eye out for, just because based on his size. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. He is a pretty technically sound corner. I think he still has some seasoning to do, which all these guys do, but I think he's definitely a name that I would definitely keep an eye out for. Now, like I said, guys, please comment down below once this video is posted. I would love to get some ideas from you guys, some comments from you guys, questions that we can answer on episode 3 next weekend. Be much appreciated. So don't forget to throw those out there when this goes up. So I think the last guy that I want to discuss before I get into basketball is a tackle. It's Anton Harrison from Oklahoma. Now, this guy is he's 6'5", 309. He's a big boy. He's big. So I think he's definitely someone that I think would be the Patriots have a long look at him. He's more of a right tackle. So if they do release Trent Brown, because releasing Trent Brown would save you about $6 million in cap space, I'm pretty sure, which is beneficial, obviously. But then you do need depth, because you saw as the year went on, depth was an issue for us. You do have Connor McDermott now, who played decently well as the season went on at right tackle. So I think that he's definitely somebody that I think would do well to keep on our team. But Anton Harrison is a big boy. He is a mauler in the run game. He's pretty flexible. He's a lot faster, quick feet, good footwork. Like I said, a lot of his issues do stem from his technique. And like I said, if you get a good offensive line coaching here, I think you could definitely coach him up. So my personal opinion on that is, if you do take a left tackle in the first round, depending where Harrison falls, if he is third round, I still think, depending on a good combine from him, he would be a second round lineman. But again, the draft works in mysterious ways, so we'll find out about that. But he's somebody that I think you guys should keep an eye on, because he does have the size, he has the length, he's strong, good in the run game. Just needs a little bit more technique in the pass game, but he's definitely has good footwork. He's quicker than people realize he is. So I think he's somebody that I think would be an interest of the Patriots as the draft comes up. Now, as I've said that, I want to get quickly, before we finish up, into the Boston Celtics last night's game, because I do have some things about that. Last night's game was an interesting one, to say the least. This game, in my opinion, the Celtics didn't play great. They were average at best. Jaylen Brown had a good game, but Tatum was kind of cold in the first half. They didn't have Smart, they didn't have Williams, but Horford played really well against Anthony Davis, who I think people were expecting more out of him. And even I was. Like I said, as a Celtics fan, I'm a Celtics fan through and through, but I was expecting more from Davis. LeBron did what LeBron does. It's hard to stop LeBron, even at 30 years old, which astounds me of what he's doing right now. I mean, think about that. 38 years old, LeBron James still scoring 40 points a game, and that's insane, right? So I think that this game was a game that had like a playoff atmosphere, and I could feel it even just watching on TV. It had a playoff atmosphere. But the reason I wanted to bring up the Celtics from last night's game is for one big thing. Now, there was a play at the end of regulation, like 5.5 seconds to go. LeBron James drove to the hoop. He went up for a layup, and he got hacked right in the arm. It was clear as day. The ref was standing right there. I mean, I don't think you could have seen any more clear from the ref's point of view. Now, I'm not there. I wasn't the ref. I don't know what he saw, but on TV, it looked very likely that LeBron James got hit in the arm. And even talking to Jason Tatum after post game, he even said that he was laughing about it because he knew, like, Tatum knew that he hit him, and that's fine if he doesn't want to admit that, but he did hit him in the arm, and LeBron did not go to the line. He did not get the call, and he had the biggest reaction I think anybody, in my opinion, has ever really anybody's really seen. Because he knew he got fouled, and he did. And like I said, I am a Celtics fan, but he did get fouled. And this is the reason the NBA is so hard to watch sometimes, these refs, okay? And I'm not here to be a hater on these refs. I'm not here to get into this whole blow about how I think some of these calls are ticky-tacky and, why are they called this way? Why are they called this way? But I want to talk about this game because the free throw disparity was big, right? The Celtics went to the line like 30 plus times, and the Lakers only went like 15 maybe, or a little bit more. And the hardest thing is that's a big disparity, right? And again, it was at home. It was at TD Garden. The atmosphere was great, but there was a disparity. And I think you need to see it as the Celtics didn't have that great of a game. The Lakers were the better team. They were, in my opinion. They were. I will admit it, no matter what. Like I said, I am a Celtics fan, but they did have a better game. Now, Lakers cannot shoot the ball. Russell Westbrook is a shell of himself. He cannot shoot for the life of him. And the Celtics knew it. They played so far off him, which was the game plan. That was a fine game plan because Russell Westbrook couldn't really do much. But I think the NBA needs to look at the refs. Okay, I really do, and that's why I wanted to discuss this quick. The referees, after the game is over, they go right to the locker room. They don't got to do a post-game press conference. They don't really need to say anything. They look at the 2-minute report, and even they admit it. Even before the 2-minute report came out, they even said that they blew the call. They cost the Lakers the game, right? And like I said, you guys can say what you want about it, but that's just my own opinion about this. The refs should be put more on notice, right? I think that, again, I know their job is hard. They're trying to be fair at certain points, but to those kind of calls, you got to call them. And again, I want the Celtics to win, and they did, but you got to call those, right? When you see them, they're right there. And, sometimes I hate when these refs come out after the game and go, well, we saw it, but we didn't call it. Like, it happened fast. I'm like, yeah, but you still saw it. You got to call that. Okay. Even if you don't want to admit it, you still saw it there. Right. So that's the hardest thing that I think in this game was that the referees kind of get away with it a little bit. I think that they definitely don't have to stand in front of the media and answer for those bad missed calls. And that's cost games for these teams, right? Even the Celtics sometimes, right? And that's the hardest thing about watching the NBA, because a lot of these fouls are ticky-tacky, and it gets really frustrating because I sit there and I go, what's the point? And I think that we need to have these refs stand in front of the media. We need them to accept that they screwed up. They didn't do well. They made bad calls, because this is one of the most poorly officiated games that I've watched in a long time. It really was. Like, there were so many calls on both sides of the ball, Celtics and Lakers, that were either not called or called, and they shouldn't have been called, right? I think that, at the end of the game, when Jaylen Brown got whacked on the head, that was definitely a foul. Lakers didn't think so. Beverly was like, what are you talking about? It wasn't a foul, but it was. He went to the line. He made his free throws. After a bad game before where he missed 2 free throws in a row to lose the game, he definitely set up Jaylen Brown. But that was great. but the refs need to be put on notice here. The NBA needs to realize that these refs are costing teams games, and you can't do that. You need to let these players play, right? Us as fans love to see the physical nature of the game, not to a point where it gets out of control, people are getting hurt. But, if you're going to call a physical game, call a physical game. But if you're going to call every foul, don't just because it was LeBron James or whatever you want to call it and not call the foul, right? Like, you need to be trying to be as fair as you can. And again, a lot of times you don't catch everything, and I understand as a fan, but you're paid to be refs, you're coaching and reffing NBA games, even NFL games, and all those. You got to call the game better. And you heard in the Lakers locker room, they were beyond mad, right? Davis was like, they screwed us. We got lost because of them. Now, they went to overtime. Lakers could have won it, but they let their emotions get the better of them, so they lost it in the end. It shouldn't have gone to that point, but the Celtics stayed composed. Lakers didn't, so Celtics won, and we're moving on from that. But that was kind of my little thing about how I think the refs just need to have more of a understanding of where they're coming from, what they're doing to these teams, and not just be like, well, we missed the call. No, I saw it. I saw it on TV right there. The ref was standing right there. If I'm the ref standing here, he was right there. He got whacked in the arm. So I don't want to hear this. Well, after the game, we missed the call. Yeah, you missed the call, but you made a team lose, right? Again, glad my team won, but that's not the point here. The point is that these refs need to have a better understanding what they're doing in the games, and so that they can get better. The NBA can get better, so that's more enjoyable to watch, because I think every 10 seconds is a foul, right? Which is insane to me. But again, that's my little thing about that. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. It will be posted either tonight or tomorrow, so please check it out. Again, don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. We really appreciate it. And also, don't forget to comment down below when the video is up. We want to hear from you guys, either questions, comments, whatever it may be. We are more than happy to talk about those points in our next video. So again, guys, thanks again for listening. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week.